Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're finally going to do the first harvesting of our urban worm bag. Now, I've been running this for over a year now, or around a year. I think I built it a year ago, maybe started a little after. But it's been up and running for a year. It's really filled. I probably should have harvested it a while ago, but it's still cold out. I was hoping to do it a little bit earlier before the winter set in so I can actually use the castings outside. Couldn't do that, but we're going to do it now because I feel it needs to be done. So let's take a look at the top of the bin and see how it's going. You can see how high it is in the bin compared to where we first started, where it was almost empty. And you can see how it looks for the casting. So let's go take a look here. So I'm going to bring you down here. All right, here we go. So let's just take a look and see how this looks. So the lid's pretty dry here, so not too much excess moisture in here. A couple worms on top. Looks really well processed. This top part, I'm not going to dig too deep. So there's a layer of paper in here, and I put some stuff on top at one point. So, but it's, as you can tell, there's only about 6 inches here to the top of the bag. And it feels pretty compacted in here. Lots of worms though. I haven't fed them in a little bit. I've been trying to cut back on feeding, and I was hoping that they'd sort of move into this bedding material on top. Just dig it out here a little bit. Lots of worms. It's doing really well. The material feels, about that right texture. It's a little bit maybe, if I squeeze it, I probably definitely would get a drop of water out, but it breaks apart pretty easily actually. So this isn't bad. It's nice and crumbly. So you can just see in here, but nice healthy worms in here. This is what the worms look like, nice and healthy. A little bit pink color, but very healthy. So looks like it's really composted well. There's a couple little bits of coffee ground bags in here that are still left, but I'm sure that they're going to disappear soon. So this is what the top looks like. It's really well mixed right now. I probably could use a little bit more paper and then maybe some more food sources. Let's just dig down just a little further in here. There's still some cardboard in the bottom here. It doesn't look like it's been fully broken down, but I tend to mix it up when I add stuff every once in a while. So let's just take a look in here. Nice and crumbly type material. Some worms in there, but not too many. So that's what it looks like on the top. Now, let's go harvest. So I'm going to leave this open while we're doing this. I'm just spreading this back out a little bit. It maybe could use a little bit more moisture too, but usually this one stays pretty moist from what I can tell. Now, for harvesting, I'm going to put this under. This is a big concrete mixing tub. I'm going to put this underneath, and we're going to capture everything that we can in here. When this is, and you have to smooth it out so I can still take this out. So this is I think a medium one, or is this a large one? I can't remember what size mixing tub this is, but for concrete. But this is just available at Home Depot, so you can just pick these up if you're going to be doing the same thing. I like the fact that it's sort of narrow, height-wise, but nice and wide, so we can capture stuff. So I'm going to turn this off now. We're going to get underneath here and take a look. So here we are under the bag. Here's the zipper right here. This is pretty heavy. I can lift it a little bit, but it probably weighs quite a bit here. So we're going to unzip this and see how this looks. If we can. Oh my gosh. Ugh. There we go, got it around that corner there. There's a lot of weight on the zipper, so not surprised having a little bit of issue here. Let's see if we can pull some of this out. This is a little bit damp in the bottom here. I didn't think about that with these zippers. I know that the new urban worm bag, I think they've added an internal funnel here. And I'm actually finding some worms down here, surprisingly. I didn't really expect to find many this down low, but there's some little ones down in here. And I saw a cocoon also that fell that I can't seem to find now, but still trying to unzip this thing fully. without hurting the worms that are stuck to my gloves here. All right, hold on just a second here. What we're going to do is I'm going to get all this stuff off my hands if I can. I'm going to take these gloves off here. Try something here. Lift up a little bit. Alright, so you apparently don't want to do what I've done and wait too long to empty this out. It might get a little bit too heavy for you. Alright, so there we go. It's off. At least it's to the other side, so let me grab another glove here so I can reach inside and try to pull some of this stuff out and see how it looks. So it's really stuck in here. More worms in here than I expected. I'm surprised they're down this low. We need to keep getting this out. I'm essentially reaching up into the bag now and pulling this stuff out. It's not just sort of falling out. It's a little bit too moist for that. A little bit of an odor to it, but not much. Some unprocessed material in here still. I'm surprised how many worms are down in here, though. I really thought that they would have migrated upward, but I'm seeing worms all through this. I'm going to try to get a little bit more out of here. This is all pretty well processed, it looks like. Well, this is really, some of this is really stuck on here. It's really compressed down, but it just sort of breaks apart pretty easily in my hands here. It's not like it's not crumbly, but it's not overly firm. It's not overly wet to the point where you can't just crumble it into pieces. So let's just break this apart a little bit more. Let me try to get a little bit more out here from this side. Now, I really am reaching into this bag here and pulling pretty hard to get this stuff out. But there are a lot of worms in here, in this material. I'm probably going to have to use some sort of bait method or something to get all these worms out. So, I think I let this go too long. This is not the Urban Worm Bag's fault. This is my fault. I probably should have harvested a lot earlier than this to make sure that it's not quite as compacted down in here. It does feel like I'm starting to get some of this really compact stuff out. It's starting to get a little bit more crumbly. Alright, so you can also push in on these bag sections, kind of move it towards the center, and that's going to help it to fall out too. Break it apart away from the edges. So, starting to get some of the unprocessed stuff out now. So, alright, that's quite a bit here. Now, what I want to see if I can do here is show you, see if I can just get a little bit more here. I am surprised at the amount of worms in here. I did not expect this at all. Most of the time, alright, I'm definitely getting to paper now and other stuff that's unprocessed, like this right here. So I've gone up high enough now. I don't need to get any more out. Let me just take a little bit out right here from this side section. A little bit more just from the ring around where the bag goes, the zipper part of the bag goes, because that is probably all processed. All right, I think we're starting to get more of the top stuff to fall through. So I'm going to say that this is it. We're going to close this up now. And before I do that, I do want to see if I can maybe get a camera shot in here. You know what? You're not going to see anything. But the bag is starting to collapse down as far as the other material, so I'm starting to get more cardboard and stuff like that from the top section. I can see that the top has moved down, So hold on here, I'm going to bring you up here so you can see. The top section has moved down a little bit and it's starting to fall away from the walls as it starts collapsing towards the center. If I were to put weight on it, it would probably start falling more and more towards the center section. And that's what's going to happen. It's eventually going to collapse back into the center. And then really, I should be emptying this more often now that this is fully working. I should be emptying it probably, I want to say like every month. I should probably be emptying a little bit out of the bottom to keep it going instead of doing this really long wait period like I did to start it. So let's go back down here. I'm going to see, just so you can get another view here. So here's the amount of stuff that I got out of here. As you can tell, this, I'm going to throw this back in the top. And there are some more unprocessed materials in here, which maybe I'll have to sort through later. But there are some pretty decent sized worms down here. Throw them back in the top too. That I will have to sort out probably before I really put this in my yard. I don't want to lose too many worms. I don't know how many are in here, but I'm seeing just a lot of worms. I mean, every time I get a handful of stuff, there's, 10 to 15 worms it looks like in it. So I will have to process this a little bit further by seeing what I can do. Here's an avocado shell. You can tell it's even still shiny. And there's a worm in it. So we'll throw that back in the top. So, all right, I'm going to zip this closed. I think that's it for this this review. I'll probably have to sort through this. I'm not sure if I'll just sort it by hand with light or if I'll do some sort of bait method to get them to kind of come to the surface area or what, but we'll see. And it does look like a lot of this stuff processed really well in here. It wasn't like this was, a lot of the stuff on top right now is the stuff that came down that was not processed fully, but a lot of the stuff, like it's fully processed. I mean, it's all just compost. So it worked pretty well. I would recommend these bins, but don't do what I did and wait too long. You want to get it a little bit sooner than that. And now let's try to zip it up here. So I think I'm gonna pull this off a little bit to the side. So I have a nice empty section on that side that I can still use for the zip portion. I'm gonna reach in here and try to zip this up. Sorry if all you can see is my arm. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move the camera over to the other side here so I can get on this side. All right, so hold this up. There we go. And there we go, it's zipped up. So a little bit of stuff on the outside here, some stuff caught in the zipper. Hopefully I might have to wash that out to make sure it doesn't dry out and cause it to cake like mud. But other than that, it worked pretty well. We got a large container here. I'm going to pull this out. This is how much we got out of here. So that's a pretty large container of stuff. Now, obviously, some of it's not fully composted because there was some stuff that came out that wasn't, but I mean, this is a pretty big container. I think it was getting up into some of the areas that had fully composted yet, definitely. But most of this is. I mean, like this looks like really good stuff to put around in my yard, or by trees or plants or in gardens. I'll have to filter it out a little bit just to get the worms because there are a bunch of worms in here. I mean, you could just see in the surface here. I mean, worm, 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 worm. So lots of worms. I'm not seeing. Well, here's one. I was looking for some cocoons here. Looks like there's one right here. So there are some cocoons in here too. I'm not as concerned about those as much, even though that is your younger generation of worms that's going to come up. But overall, I'm pretty impressed. It worked pretty well. It wasn't too bad to harvest. A little bit difficult with the zipper and everything, but not overly complex. Here's another piece of avocado shell. Throw that back in the top of the bin. But yeah, this is a good amount of compost that came out of this. And it's pretty good consistency. It's a little bit wet, but not too bad. Some really healthy worms in here, though. I mean, like, you look at stuff like this. I mean, this is a really healthy worm right here. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with this. So that's my update. Finally did our first harvest. I'll also do the second one probably in a month or two. We'll try to do this a little bit more frequently and get it kind of flowing a little bit more than it has been, where, when you first start a bin, you got to wait for it to build up. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this update.